equity, inclusive community engagement, reducing greenhouse gas emissions as quickly as possible, maximizing co-benefits, including public health, resilience, affordable housing, and biodiversity, among other priorities listed here. We had over 20 different types of engagements in the development of the Climate Action Plan, including several webinars and in-person events such as the Climate Action Plan Festival, a nature walk and talk, a student-led workshop at the Acton Boxborough High School, a survey, monthly newsletter, and so much more. And then we also had a tremendous amount of support from the community in getting the word out. We had volunteers from Energize Acton who I stood in front of supermarkets to let people know about the Climate Action Plan Festival. We had members from the Green Advisory Board who also promoted the events with their friends and colleagues. We worked really closely with the Acton Boxborough Regional School District that also did a tremendous amount of work on this. I mentioned the student-led workshop by the Acton Boxborough High School. The students were incredibly engaged throughout the entire process, which was really a unique and a great part of the Climate Action Plan, a great feature of the Climate Action Plan, to be able to spotlight the students' work. And so many more other actors involved as well, communities and organizations like Green Acton as well. And I'm missing a huge long list, but they're also included in the acknowledgements of the Climate Action Plan, so you should definitely check that out. So all of that work led to the Climate Action Plan that you see here. It includes a list of 22 strategies and over 50 actions to address climate change. To give you a sense of how to navigate it, because it is a very long document, it starts with a list of goals, a list of strategies, and then within each strategy, a set of actions. So for an example, a goal for energy is Acton's electricity is fossil fuel free, renewable, reliable, and affordable. Acton's residents, businesses, and municipal government use locally owned renewable energy from New England whenever possible. So that's the big goal. A strategy within that goal is to provide residents with 100% carbon-free electricity by 2030. And then an action within that strategy: make 100% renewable energy the default option in Acton Power Choice, and include a subsidy or other options to ensure affordability for lower income households. So that's where it gets really tangible. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is what sort of tangible actions can we focus on in the coming year. And the goal is to have this annual meeting every year so that we can check on the Climate Action Plan tracker, check where we are, and then see, what are the actions we prioritized last year, what actions can we prioritize in the coming year. And the goal is also to make sure that the Climate Action Plan doesn't become stale, because it is a moving target, and we want to make sure that we're troubleshooting along the way. And other things change, right? Finance contexts change, policy contexts change. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping track of those things as well. And this just highlights some of the things that happened this year. We switched out 4 of our municipal vehicles that were gas powered for electric. This is our building commissioner who's learning to use the EV charger for the first time. And then we replaced 4 gas-powered vehicles, but then we also removed an additional one. So we actually got rid of 5 gas-powered vehicles as an effort to reduce the fleet by 10% and encourage carpooling. We've continued to do a ton of work with the Acton Climate Coalition as part of Energize Acton, which is an effort led by volunteers in the community. And it's a platform where people can see a list of actions that they can take on climate, and then actually keep track of how many emissions they're reducing. And then they also get to participate with other neighbors, see how other neighbors are participating. They can create groups and have some friendly competition. And you can mark actions to do. So you can set a goal to, for example, switch to an EV when it's time to switch out your vehicle. So it sort of helps you make a plan. Alongside that, there's the coaching program. So if folks need much more one-to-one help, they can reach out to one of our volunteer energy coaches that you see in the upper right-hand corner. And this is completely free. Since the program launched at the beginning of the year, we've had 76, I just looked at the request sheet, we've had 76 requests from residents. And these are residents who are looking to add solar, add heat pumps, to move away from fossil fuels in their home, or who want to switch to electric vehicles. And the coaches are there to provide a variety of technical expertise, from like very high level to the detailed support. And they can jump on the phone, or they can even go to your home. So there's a variety of ways to engage with a coach. We're also electrifying some of our town buildings. So we're about to send out a procurement to create a design to electrify the public safety facility building and the town hall. And then on the right, you see a blower door test for the Red House, which is going to become, the Red House is where the sustainability office is, right next to town hall. And that's going to become an example home, and hopefully for the community, of what a green home looks like. So we're going to be switching for it to be fully electric. And then we're also going to be revitalizing the garden around the home with native species, and then making it into a wildlife habitat. So that's a sprinkling of some of the actions. There's also the Minuteman Bike Share program, which we're about to launch in a week and a half together with Concord. So you'll see a station at East Acton Village Green and at Gould's Plaza. And so with that, I will pass it on to Lauren for some more exciting news about our greenhouse gas inventory.
Hi, everyone. As Andrea was saying, I'm a fellow and I've been working with the sustainability department this summer. And part of the work we've been doing is updating the greenhouse gas inventory. And the inventory was last updated in 2019. And we used ICLEI reporting measurements to create a separate community and municipal inventory. And then this year we are using MAPC's greenhouse gas inventory tool. So it's a little bit different, and we're kind of working on updating it so that we can compare these numbers still. So this is still not the complete final one, but we've definitely gotten some good information on where we're at now and the progress that we've made over the past few years since the last update in 2019. So overall, we've seen about an 18% decrease in our emissions. This chart over here on the right shows that the majority of those emissions are coming from stationary energy, so buildings, things like that, with a big amount coming from transportation as well, and then just a small amount coming from waste. We have seen a 34% decrease in transportation emissions, which is super exciting. And we believe that that's really due to an increase in electric vehicles being used in Acton and the municipal fleet, and just across residents as well. We've seen a huge increase since the 2019 inventory in electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, and that's really brought the transportation emissions down, which is great to see. But we have seen about a 3% increase in stationary emissions over this time. So we are hoping to continue to work on reducing those emissions as well as the rest of them to reach that 2030 goal. And then I think we're ready to move on. Oh, okay. So as we said, we have the Climate Action Plan tracker, which we've been working on to show the progress that has been made since the plan has been released. And so Hannah's going to take you through kind of how to use it, what the web page looks like. But essentially, this was just created so that we can show all of this progress and keep the town updated with it as new things are getting done, as we're kind of making progress on new projects. We're going to keep updating it and show really all of the emissions that we've reduced and everything that's going on in the town, provide resources for everyone to be able to access those things. And it's just a really great way for us to keep ourselves accountable too, to have this annual update and to make sure that we're keeping track of everything we're getting done and prioritizing what still needs to have some progress done on that. So I think Andrea, you might have to make Hannah co-host so she can share her screen, but she's going to take you through what the tracker looks like and how you guys can use it. And then after she's done explaining it, we'll send out the link so everybody can kind of try it out for themselves before we get feedback.
Great, thank you. And I actually believe I do have capability to share my screen. So let's see. Can everyone see this? Alrighty. So we're excited. Oh wait, can you see this?
I do. I see it now.
Okay, awesome. We're excited to unveil this for all of you. This is definitely a work in progress, and as recently as today, we were still tinkering with it. So please keep in mind whatever feedback you think would make this a useful resource and like an efficient resource for you. So here's our main page. When you log on or when you click onto the web page, this is what you'll see. And then we have broken down along the top the 7 different categories from the climate action plan. So we have a little blurb right here explaining what the climate action plan is, introducing the greenhouse gas inventory, and then also introducing a key for explaining the way that we are ranking our progress on different actions. So either by scrolling or by clicking these sections along the top, you can get to the different kind of at a glance version of the climate action tracker. So for energy, for example, you can see the different strategies with their explanation. And then along the bottom, we have a status. So it corresponds to that key at the top, with blue being coming soon, orange is in progress, and green is complete. And so we come to this status like culmination by looking at the different measures of success and then determining how many of those within each action were completed or in progress or coming soon. And then in order to see more information, we click here, and that'll take us to a page dedicated to that element of the climate action plan. So again, you can navigate this way, or you can scroll. Each action will have an update at the top, and then a little blurb about what we've been doing. And as you scroll through, it will change with you. And this is just a way if you wanted to understand a little bit more about the like concrete things that we have been doing in the community. And we've got one of these for each of the different sections. So hopefully this feels useful, that this feels like something that you can see yourself coming back to, either to get inspired about, you know, what you're working on, or to remind yourself of what we're doing. And so I think we're going to share out the link maybe right now, and we'll give you a chance to click around for a bit. I don't know, Andrea, how many minutes we're thinking at this point, but.
Yeah, I think if we could give folks like 5 or so minutes to just scroll through, and then we'd love to ask your questions about the tracker itself, and get your feedback on what could be improved and what you like. So maybe when you look through it, think about it with that mindset.
Great. And then it looks like Lauren has put the link in the comment or in the chat. So let us know if you have any trouble accessing that.
And in the meantime, I'm trying to answer some of your questions in the chat. Thank you all. All right, I think folks are ready to, I know I see some feedback on the actual chart itself. So I will actually stop sharing my screen so we can see your faces in case anyone would like to speak, but I'll switch from chat to raised hands. So the first is a question from Ann Anderson. Is there a way to see exactly which actions are in progress, coming soon, and complete? And so we do have a summary table of all of them for folks to download. So we can circulate that around to everyone who signed up for the meeting, where you can just see it summarized. But the way it's set up right now is you actually click through each of the actions. I don't know, Hannah, if you want to share your screen or I can too. You can show how to see yeah, so right now it's really just a summary of the strategies or each individual action within Seymour. But we do have a summary table, which, yeah, that's it, exactly, thank you. This summary table, which shows each action in one PDF. So we can circulate that to folks if they prefer to see it in that way. And so we'll update this annually. Okay, Eric?
Yeah, hi. This is awesome. Just want to start with that. It's really tremendous to have this almost up. I just wanted to ask whether the navigation bar is something that you sort of intentionally wanted to have after that first slide or screen, Acton's climate action tracker, or did you also consider having it as, sort of a more typical nav bar up top once and then you can go beyond Acton's climate action tracker and then roll through things, but the nav bar would always be up at the top. So I just wondering if that was intentional or if it was something you considered.
Are you thinking like kind of like a freeze pane where you could always have it following you?
Well, basically the nav bar, right? Buildings and housing, energy, mobility, all the different categories. That is, as you scroll down, it's in the middle of the page for a bit, and then it becomes the top. So I think people are used to seeing that at the top, even at the very start.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I think, yeah, so we used story maps to build this platform just because it's something we're familiar with and we already have the software, but it is a bit limited in kind of how many creative liberties you can take with moving things around. It's very kind of set in the formatting. So I think just based on the website itself, we're not able to move that bar there.
Yeah,
but that was great. Just kind of how it came.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. Awesome, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
No, that's a great comment because potentially we might be able to switch around some formatting. So definitely give comments on formatting and we can try to explore with our GIS team to see what's possible. And then I'll switch to comments on the chat. The percentages done are based on what metrics? So they literally are based on that table that Hannah showed. It's literally like a tally of the different actions, and then it summarizes in the strategy table what percentage is complete. Shalish, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, that's right. So this is my first meeting, and I'm a resident of Acton, but I was very interested in the topic, and hence I thought I would join. So this is great work, and I have sort of two questions. So the first question is, how do you measure the data? Like, okay, we reduced our carbon emission by so and so percent, or increased the percentage by X. So how do we measure that data? And the second question is on the mobility. You mentioned that the goal is to electrify school buses and government vehicles. So I wanted some, I mean, if you can elaborate on that, how we would go about it.
So for the first one, we conducted, the way we measure it is through a greenhouse gas emissions inventory, which is, we use two different methodologies. One is like a global approved methodology, and it uses a combination of town data, census data, and then also information about the current grid, to calculate how many emissions we see in the building sector in our vehicles. We actually have pretty accurate data on the vehicles in Acton, so we were able to get very accurate information on our transportation sector. That's actually improved over time, so we're able to see much more accurately what everyone's driving. And then, sorry, can you repeat your second question?
Yeah, this was on the mobility strategy. So you mentioned that one of the goals is to electrify school vehicles and other government vehicles. So can you elaborate on it a little bit? How we would go about it?
Yes, so the town has a policy to electrify all of its vehicles. So any vehicle it purchases outside of vehicles that are for heavy duty, like plowing, all of our vehicles are replaced by electric vehicles once they either break down or once we see that they're ready to get replaced, even if they're not broken down. So we've actually replaced 4 vehicles for EVs, and then we're also trying to reduce the overall fleet size and encourage carpooling as well. For the buses, our energy manager for the Acton Boxborough Regional School District has applied for a number of grants through the federal government to try to get that funding for switching out all of the diesel powered buses for electric. So there's a lot of hard work I know happening there to try to do that. So I know the energy manager, she's just gonna keep trying her best shot to do it, but there's a whole plan in place to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you very much.
And then more on the chat. So about Dave is asking a question about if there's anyone else except National Grid monitoring or prioritizing progress on gas leaks. There is actually a really wonderful organization called HEAT, HEET, and they do amazing work. And actually we were able to get data from them for the map, the gas leaks map that Hannah put together, and it's in the tracker. And that data was not clean. So National Grid had a lot of data, but it was not clean. So HEAT actually took all that data, cleaned it, and provided it to the town. So we do coordinate with HEAT and certainly reach out to them. And then also Mothers Out Front does a lot of work as well around methane reduction efforts, including gas leaks, and then also promoting things like switching to induction stove, electric stoves, away from gas-powered stoves. And then I don't know, folks, if others think I missed any other organizations, but feel free to add those to the chat if you think there are other folks who are also focused on the issue. And then Mary Smith, you're raising your hand. I'm going to ask, you're not, just so you know, we can't hear you.
Okay, at last. I want to thank the 3 of you. You've done a very good job. It's really helpful. I have 2 requests, I guess. The first one is, I think it would be great in the future if we separate commercial and residential in the buildings. And the other thing is that I'm curious as to what is cross-cutting that you have in the education?
Oh, that is a strategy that it means it's cross-cutting because it didn't fall neatly under one strategy. It's a strategy, it's an action that hits across all of them, which is keeping track of greenhouse gas emissions and budgeting for climate action. And so that kind of crosses everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'm sorry if I'm missing some. Alyssa, did you have? I just see, sorry, I meant strategies. Was there another part to that? And then, and gas leaks over some size should be fixed before street repairs occur. Yes, and then I mentioned earlier that the Department of Public Works coordinates with National Grid every time there's a street repair, so that gas leaks are fixed. Okay, we talked about that. The select board is tasked with setting annual climate goals or targets. Can there be a quantitative connection between this tracker and those goals? Interesting. Fran, do you mean the select board goals or the select board environmental policy?
Well, I think there are a couple of places where the select board, it needs to set goals. One of them was a couple of years ago, the town meeting warrant article about supporting the climate action plan indicated that they should set goals. And I'm just thinking that it would be nice to be able to use the tracker to have some of the goals, so that the select board could say, okay, 5 of our goals are included in the tracker, and so we can all see how the progress is coming along.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so there will be a presentation of this to the select board in August. And it'd be interesting to hear their input and see whether or not they see a connection there as well. The other thing is there is in the sustainability, in the environmental policy, that's why I mentioned the environmental policy first for the select board, there is an ask for the town to present annually on greenhouse gas emissions. So that's something that we're starting to do now. So Anne says the tracker is so general, I would not use it. The cap tracker table information is what would be useful. Yeah, so that's great to know. So we will send out the table for folks who just want a quick screenshot and don't necessarily want to dive into the details of each action. Will the tracker include in quantitative metrics like number of EVs registered, kilowatts of solar installed, number of heat pump installations, metrics that could be converted into greenhouse gas emissions based on assumptions? Yes, so the goal is to include a lot more details on greenhouse gas emissions within each of the strategies at the very top. Yes, we are sending the summary tables. There is information on, so Dave asked if is the vehicle data is only number and type. There's also information on vehicle miles traveled for all of the vehicles as well. And doesn't see the heat gas leaks map in the tracker. Hannah, do you want to share that while we're answering all the other questions?
Sure. I also responded to it in the chat, but
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Then I think we're good.
Okay.
Is there a way to set yearly goals? Yeah, that's a really good point, Karen. I think that's a good one for discussion in the actions, actually. Like, we're going to break out into groups, and then we can discuss like setting maybe potential targets in those actions for the year. So for the stationary emissions, we suspect that there is an increase because there has been more development since the last inventory. There also has been a greater use of air conditioning, likely in the summer. So hotter summers, more electricity use. The grid also hasn't cleaned up as quickly as, even though we are seeing some shifts to fully electric homes, the grid is still catching up. So there's a lot of reasons why we could have seen an increase. Okay, I think I will try to answer some of these as we go into our breakout sessions. Thank you all so much. I did have a list of questions about the tracker to help us get going, but you all had so much input that we didn't even get a chance to go into them. So let's just go ahead and go into our breakout sessions so that we can get some good discussions going on actions for this year. So I will go ahead and create 2 breakouts rooms. Thank you all so much. I think we have everyone back from the breakout session. I'm gonna share my screen again. We're gonna leave the Zoom room open for questions, but I know we're at the top of the hour, so I just wanna send out a close to folks who are ready to head out. Please reach out to sustainability@actonma.gov. That will reach out. That will reach all of us, me, Hannah, and Lauren. You can also call the direct line at the sustainability office. It's 978-929-6515 if you'd rather talk over the phone. Or you're welcome to pop into the actual Red House if you'd like to do an in-person meeting as well. I also want to let you know about a few upcoming events organized by Energize Acton, the Climate Cafe series. Tomorrow is the Go Solar event, where you'll hear from homeowners who have installed solar in their home. The events take place at 5 o'clock at the Acton Memorial Library. I just realized I did not include the pop-up shopping event that Karen Herther is leading as part of also the Climate Cafe series. That's on July 27th. And we can send the slides so folks can learn about these events. So I'll send information about these events over email as well. And then also we have the Minuteman Bike Share launch happening Friday, August 4th. And this is the bike share program that we're doing with Concord. So that's a very exciting new program that we'll have available to residents. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and then leave the Zoom floor open. You know, I know the time is always short in some of these things, and there's always more comments that could be made. So now's a good time for that, but also if you'd like to send an email or make a phone call about some of the actions, please feel free to do that as well.